We're on? Excellent, excellent. Hey everybody, thanks for taking some time today for joining us for this week's live. This is a really special day today because we are going to be giving away a Toro snowblower. And the really good news is we have some company today. Sarah is here, of course, running things in the background.
Hello.
But we're actually going to be able to have a couple of technical service representatives from Toro joining us to be able to answer any questions you may have regarding their product, or we're going to be just talking about snowblower stuff in general. So again, thanks for joining us. If you enjoy this sort of stuff and you want to see more of it, especially now that we're doing more giveaways, you're going to want to make sure you subscribe to our channel. And just so you know, the snowblower we're giving away today is a Toro machine, and it is a Power Max 826, and it is gorgeous. We're talking heated grips, headlight, steerable drive, and all the features that Toro brings. So that's pretty exciting. I just wish I could get in on the contest, but not the case. So let's bring in our guests today. We've got joining us, we have Chuck and we have Jeff as well from Toro. And they're joining us today to help answer any questions and just be part of the conversation, talking about clearing snow and what works well and what doesn't work, and any questions you may have on how to look after your machine, how to get it ready for the season, how to put it away for the season, and any questions in general that you have. So please, by all means, go for it. So we're on a whole bunch of different platforms today, including TikTok. So if you're a TikTok user and you're wanting to enter the contest, you need to do that for us by email. So you'll send your question in through email through video@fix.com. So just email us, that way we can get back to you and get you in the draw. And then when we go to draw, we'll have your email address so we can correspond back to you. Okay, welcome guys. Thanks for joining us today. Really appreciate it. And maybe if you don't mind, just give us a little brief information about yourselves and some information about the history of Toro.
So I'm Jeff Brinke. I've been a technical service representative at Toro for 10 years. We support the residential side and landscape contractors. And we handle everything from 21-inch lawnmowers to 144-inch lawnmowers and snowblowers and everything in between. So Toro actually started in the snowblower business in 1951 with an industrial product. And then by 1954, we're creating residential products. And while I was researching this, one of my team members said, "What did people do before 1951?" And they basically shoveled. So
there you go. There you go.
Go ahead, Chuck.
My name is Chuck Bemis. I've been with Toro a little over a year and a half. So I'm kind of the new guy on the block and work in the same department as Jeff Brinke does.
Excellent. I did a little bit of research before we were doing this live today at looking up, Toro and a bit of its history. I had no idea that Toro beginnings were what must be somewhere around 110, 111 years ago.
Yep. Exactly.
Sarah, do you know what Toro translates to?
I do not. Let's learn a fun fact.
Yeah. If I read it right, it's the bull.
Yes, it is.
There you go. See, learn something new every day. So, anyway, we have one of your machines here with us. We have here a 1200 Snow Series, and it is one tough, solid machine. I got to say, I've worked on a lot of different machines in my time, but boy, these things are built solid. And you guys have a really unique system as far as anti-clogging, and there's not many other manufacturers that seem to keep that in consideration in their designs.
Right, right. So that in the auger housing there, the way that is designed, there is kind of an extra port in there. It's not just round, the same shape as the impeller. And if the chute if it gets plugged up, or if there's too much going through it, it will bypass that extra snow back into the auger housing, and then it'll allow you to pick it up again. So yeah, that's just the design of that is a Toro design. Probably not patented any longer, but it's still pretty unique to the Toro units.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Our snow tends to be a little bit on the wet, heavy side, and clogging is a royal pain in the butt. So I can see where this would certainly uh, reduce the amount of times you have to stop and clear out your machine.
Yep, yep. Convenience and safety all at the same time.
There you go. Um, Sometimes when I take things apart, other parts fall off. So, anyway, we'll have to probably order a new chute. But anyway, it's good to see how easy it comes apart.
Right.
I like to say I did that on purpose, but I can't. Well, this seems like a great time, Sarah, to look at some questions from our fans out there.
Perfect. And for anyone that's just joining, if you are looking to enter the draw to win, not the snowblower that Chris is beating up over here, but a brand new one, you just need to post a question or email it in to video@fix.com to be entered into the draw. We definitely won't have time to answer everyone's questions, but we will make sure everyone's name is in the running. So the first one we're gonna go to here came in through YouTube just a few minutes ago. What do you guys recommend for storing the machine during the summer months?
That's a good question.
I feel like we should be talking about what to do to bring it out after the summer months, but we can cover it all.
I'm sure there'll be questions we get to that. And as well, any of you who are sending in questions, if you don't mind, we'd love to know whereabouts you're contacting us from, just to try and get a perspective as to how many people we're able to reach, where and when. And guys, what's your thought on what you got to do to prepare to put it away?
Chuck,
I
you want
gotta-
to take that one?
Sure, I can go with that. Probably the first thing I would say is a good fuel stabilizer. On your last, what you perceive might be your last snow blowing of the season, to mix in a good fuel stabilizer with the fuel, and run the unit, and then before you put it away, to run the unit completely out of fuel, so you don't have that fuel sitting in it over the summertime. Then just general cleaning and lubing of the machine, different lube points, wipe it down, get any of the salt, things that are going to corrode, and put a light coat of lube on the unit itself to preserve it.
Okay.
And
That's a good idea.
And I might want to add too to Chuck's point. A lot of times you're probably better off. And what I like to do is when I buy my fuel, I have a separate can that I use. I use it winter or summer, but it's about now you'll start getting the blended fuels. So your gas or your fuel for your lawnmower may not be good starting when it's 10 below zero. So you might be better off taking that fuel and putting it in your car, and then filling up a can now or when we have the blended fuels. And then it's probably easier to stabilize it right in that can, because that way over stabilizing doesn't help you any. It just costs you more money. So it's easier to stabilize 2 gallons of gas than it is that small amount that's in your gas tank on your mower.
Right.
So if you keep the stuff in your can stabilized, you always have stabilizer in your fuel. I think that's kind of a good idea.
Yeah, definitely.
And I think with fuel too, 30, they say about 30 days is, what's recommended, for, to be, not have extra fuel on hand. Don't have more than a 30-day supply, because fuel starts to degrade after that period.
I can remember having numerous discussions with my customers over that very thing, and they most often thought I was nuts until you started to show them, what the inside of their gas tank and their carburetor looked like. So, I mean, it's, I don't know how you guys find with your products, but I know a lot of the stuff I serviced, the biggest service issue faced was around fuel and water and neglect as far as, cleaning the machine out, draining the bowl, and using stabilizer. Like carburetor cleaning or replacing was one of the key things we were doing on a regular basis.
Yeah, and then we often get the question of should I store it with the fuel tank empty or full?
Yeah.
Either way. You don't want to store it with some fuel in it. With a plastic fuel tank that's built into the unit, it's not as big of a deal. But like on that unit there that has the integrated fuel tank on the engine, that steel tank, if you leave that half full or some gas in it, you have room for condensation. You don't want to have that. So if you're not going to run it all out of there or siphon it out, you'd probably be better off storing that one full with stabilizer in it.
Good stuff. Good stuff. So for, those of you out there with machines and you're looking to have them maintained, a lot of the maintenance is in the owner's manual, and a lot of it, most people are more than capable to be able to do the basic maintenance and repairs on them. And that's one of the reasons we like, being partnered up with Toro, is because we can supply you with parts for your machines. And again, it's a great idea to follow our channel, subscribe, so that, anytime we're doing any kind of training videos or part replacement videos, you have it. If you're ordering parts, you go to our website, you put in your model number, and it'll come up with a beautiful parts breakdown, giving you your part numbers. And you'll find in most cases, when you look at a particular part, there may be some instructional videos or documentation explaining how the best way to change it. So, these are machines that do require maintenance, and you don't necessarily have to try and find a way to get your machine to a repair shop and pay that money. A lot of it you can do yourself. So anyway, just thought to mention that. And again, as we're doing these giveaways, it's great if you would subscribe, because when you find out what our next one's going to be, you'll be aware and be ready to join into our live. What else you got, Sarah?
All right, you guys are doing a good job of just going right through. We had a question on, do we carry OEM parts for these? So cover that one beautifully. Let's switch from fuel and talk about how important is it to maintain the blades. That question was submitted through email by Julie. So thank you for that.
Okay. So maybe just to leap back to something you just mentioned, Sarah, and that was talking about OEM parts. There's a lot of different suppliers of parts for all kinds of different machines out there, but we do not sell any aftermarket parts. If you order a part through us, it's an original equipment manufactured part. The same part that was manufactured to be put on the machine to build it, to put it in your home, is the same part that we will send you when you order it. So you're not getting something that's going to mean you're going to wind up having to replace it again in a very short period of time, or it's going to fail you when you need the machine the most. So Sarah, what was that again regarding the blades?
Oh, yeah. How important is it to maintain those?
So I guess if talking blades, it'd be your auger.
Yeah, and one just came through on YouTube related, should blades be sharpened?
Okay. So guys, maybe that's a term you're more familiar with, but they must be describing the auger itself, the auger blade.
Right, and on a two-stage, unless you hit something with it, they should not be making ground contact. So maintenance of them would be keeping them off the ground, adjusting your skids correctly and your cutting edge correctly. If you're talking about a single stage and you're talking about the paddles, the rubber paddles, those do contact the ground. And there are indicators on the Toro ones. There are indicators. There's a hole in there, and you can tell when you're getting close to being worn down to a point where they should be replaced. But yeah, technically, there really aren't blades on a snowblower. But yeah, probably the auger flights or the paddles. There's what they're referring to.
Gotcha.
And on the ground engaging single stage, you'll usually notice a maybe lack of performance, not throwing the snow as far, maybe not clearing it as well off the driveway once they
Right.
start to get wore.
Yeah, makes sense. Makes sense for sure. What else you got, Sarah?
Related question. What happens if you hit something, say like a tree limb or a branch? Does the blower have a cutoff switch or something to prevent you from causing damage to the machine?
You want to take that, Chuck, or?
Sure. So on the Toro, on the two-stage, we have hardened gears, so there are no shear bolts any longer, as in the past. So yeah, you definitely want to avoid striking objects, if at all possible. But you're going to want to disengage the drive and the auger and clear any obstruction, out before operating the machine again.
Yeah, and as far as cutoff, the engine will shut down because you've overloaded it. If it's something that can't be, pushed out of the auger housing area, it will shut the engine down without any damage to the transmission itself. Toro went with a bolt holding the augers onto the output shafts of the transmission. Because we have the hardened transmission gears, so it's an inconvenience to have additional shear pins. And a lot of times I've used some other models where the shear pins probably sheared off pretty easily, and you're done unless you have more of those shear bolts. So we just bolt the augers right to the shaft itself. So.
Yeah, I was actually telling some of the gang here today about snow blowing my driveway one night, and wasn't aware that the local delivery people had brought out the latest Sears catalog. So it was sitting in the driveway buried under the snow, but man, when I found it, whew, what a surprise. That I was running a 12 horsepower unit at that point, and it just stopped it dead. And fortunately, and very fortunately, it didn't break anything too bad.
Yeah, we might be aging ourselves here, but I remember when they used to deliver, the new yellow pages,
Yeah.
and you could find that pretty easily in the snow with a snowblower.
Absolutely, absolutely. And it's funny, some of my neighbors were finding pages of the catalogs, when spring came around. But,
Right.
yeah. What else can we help with, Sarah?
All right, how well do these machines handle on icy or compacted snow?
Good question. So, handling on icy or packed snow. Now, this particular machine we have is the tread style rubber tired, no chains. So, you guys also, I think in your commercial line, you offer a track drive as well, do you not?
Yeah, we offer chains on some of the larger units. The compact 2-stage like we have here, we don't have chains for. But what's really important there is having the correct tire pressure. Having too much tire pressure, it's good for wheeling around the garage and moving it around, but it does not make enough ground contact. So just as people do when they're driving their Jeeps in the sand, you let some air out, and you have more of the tire on the ground, and it tracks a lot better in the packed down snow.
Yeah. Your speed setting tends to make a difference with that as well.
Yeah.
I know some neighbors of mine that they want to clear that driveway as fast as they can. Doesn't matter how deep it is. If they've got an option for 6 gears, they're using all 6.
Right.
And pretty hard to expect the tires to give you traction when you're asking that of most machines.
Yeah.
Sarah, what else you got?
All right, it looks like we've got an influx of new viewers. So if you're just joining us, we are here with a couple of reps from Toro talking snowblowers today. So if you are looking to enter the draw to win a brand new Toro snowblower, post a question in the comments or send us an email at video@fix.com. The next question we're going to talk about is how, I guess, again, this is going to depend on what you consider typical conditions, but how far can these units throw the snow?
Well,
That does really vary a ton,
it's a
depending on
ton.
whether it's the nice light fluffy snow or if it's the real wet. And it can vary from a very short distance on the real slushy to 40 feet or more.
You could probably throw it far enough to make your neighbor angry, because you could probably cover their driveway with your snow if you wanted to. If you didn't have a good relationship with them, but yeah, it does vary a lot. Like Chuck said, if you get that nice ice crystally snow, it throws it a long ways, and it'll throw it up into the wind and carry it forever. Those late season snows in March, where it's 90% water, it comes out like a tube of toothpaste.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, and if you happen to be doing a gravel driveway, it's amazing how far they'll throw some of those rocks.
Yeah, speaking about angering your neighbors, right?
Yeah, and replacing siding.
Yeah, that's the importance of adjusting your shoes on the snow blower and having the right unit. You don't want a ground engaging single stage for a gravel driveway. That's not a good fit.
Now you tell me. You're absolutely right.
We did actually have a question about using snow blowers on gravel. This viewer mentioned that's the type of driveway they have, and any tips. So they need to upgrade to a 2-stage. Then is what you're saying?
Yes, I would recommend a 2-stage, and then having your shoes set and the scraper set a little further off of the ground, so you're not picking up the gravel. And as well, once you get an established kind of snowpack or on that driveway, then you're able to lower the shoes just a little bit to clear it down to that. But the first few initial snows, you're going to want those shoes further down so you're not picking up the gravel.
Yeah, in the manual we recommend that you have the scraper an 1/8 inch off the surface. So if you were in gravel, depending on how uneven it is or how loose it is, you might want to make adjustments to that height.
Yeah, for sure. I live in a bit of a rural area, and our first snowstorm, when the plow comes through, always winds up picking up all the gravel from along the side of the road and slipping it into the snowbank at the end of the driveway. And boy, does it ever do a number on the inside of your housings.
Right.
It's not a whole lot you can do about it. It's just part of the fun of blowing snow.
Hey, anything you're doing beats shoveling, right?
Well, this is true. This is true. So,
We had an emailed question asking what's the difference between a single stage and 2-stage, and then what are those 2 stages?
it's a fair question. So you guys can correct me if I'm wrong. This particular machine here in front of me is a 2-stage, and the first stage is our augers that are designed to pull the snow in and push it back to the second stage, which is the impeller, and it rotates quite fast, and its wings basically force the snow up through the chute and a distance away, keeping it all out of your driveway. So that's what a 2-stage is. Single stage would be just what they were talking about, having the single roller with the rubber paddles. That would be an example of single stage.
And we do have a model that is a single stage that is non-ground engaging. So it doesn't touch the ground, but it also paddles it up in one shot. A lot of times, the single stages work really good in the fluffy light snow because it's working kind of like a shovel. Those augers, the nice thing about the augers in front there and the 2-stage is that if you have the snowbank that the snowplow came through, that chops that up and directs it back towards the impeller. But if you just had a clear driveway with, say, 6 inches of light fluffy snow, a single stage will throw it a long ways.
Right. We get quite a few questions these days looking at the conversion that's taking place from gas to cordless. Do you guys have at this point in your lineup some cordless snowblower options?
Yes,
that's actually Chuck's specialty.
We actually we have both two-stage and single-stage 60-volt snow blowers,
Nice.
which really add to the convenience. There's less maintenance. They're lighter weight. Batteries are interchangeable with other Toro products. If you have a string trimmer, a blower, things of that nature. And they work very well.
Okay, that's good to know, because there is definitely a trend starting to show itself, not just in the power tool side, but in the lawn and garden equipment is a lot of technology being used there.
Well, and if you look at, say, the battery powered two-stage compared to the one you have on the bench there, it's the same unit aside from the power supply. So it has a power head instead of an engine on it, but all the other components are the same. So it is just as heavy duty, it's just as robust as the gas powered unit.
That's impressive, because I have seen some other brands of battery powered snow removal equipment, and yeah, there's some concerns there as to the strength of them. So that's very interesting. Sarah, what's next in your lineup?
Let me see. There are a couple questions about warranty and servicing, if you guys want to touch on that, what sort of warranty Toro provides for their equipment.
Yeah. Depending on the unit, it does vary, but it's typically 2 to 3 years on the unit. And same with the engines. We have Toro engines on our units, so we handle all the warranty and service on our engines. You can order the parts for the engines directly from Toro, so that makes it more convenient. It kind of varies by the unit. If you go to the Toro.com website, you can look at the warranty statements for the unit. If you're wondering about your unit or if something you were going to buy.
Very good.
In all 60-volt products, the batteries are warranted for a full 3 years.
Okay, that's interesting. So it's not based on number of charges, it's a time factor.
Exactly.
Very good. Very good.
Any tips on those batteries in summer storage? I know we talked about, fuel, but battery powered obviously doesn't have that. So do you recommend keeping them on the charger, off the charger?
So on the batteries, if you're not going to be using them in another tool during the summer, if they're going to be stored for more than 30 days, I'd like to see you charge them to about 50%, and then store them inside. You don't want to store them where it's super hot outside in the garage or super cold. So bring them in, and if you're not going to use them in that 30-day range, but don't leave them in the unit and don't leave them on the charger.
Okay, that's good information, because that applies not just to the batteries for your snow removal equipment. Pretty well, a lot of batteries that are in the market today, same rules apply.
Yeah, lithium ion, the same material, and most of the batteries, it's all the same. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Anything else coming down the pipeline, Sarah?
Oh, yeah, we got lots coming through. A couple one asking if you should grease the augers, and another asking, is there anything you can coat them with to prevent sticking and blockage with wet snow?
So,
I've heard of a lot of different things that I've seen a lot of different things that people have, they spray like PAM coating for their pans in there, just keeping it clean and probably touching it up. Like say if you're throwing gravel for a while, cleaning it up and touching it up at the end of the year with some Toro matching spray paint, keeping a good coating on there. It provides a coating for against corrosion, but it also helps the snow slip better. But I've heard so many different things, beef tallow, whatever that you can rub inside there.
yeah.
Everybody's got some spare beef tallow laying around.
Yeah. I know my neighbor swears by spray silicone.
Yeah.
And I mean, it does work, but it doesn't last that long before it wears off. That gets pretty expensive.
Yeah, fluid film is also a product that works too, but it's expensive and it lasts. You probably would have to use it every time you use the snowblower.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep, and the
Exactly.
fluid film, I usually use that at the end of the season to spray down, and coat certain parts just to help prevent against any rust that you might, because sometimes it can be a little tough to wash units off. So by wiping them down and then spraying some of the fluid film on, it really does help maintain.
Okay.
If I could add something quick too, with storage for the off season, I see a lot of people that'll put a plastic tarp over it and right down to the ground, and that keeps things keeps the dust off of it, but it also promotes condensation and moisture underneath there. You'll be surprised if you have it in a hot shed for the summer with a non-breathable cover on it. When you pull that cover off in the fall, you might see a lot of corrosion on a lot of parts. So, if you're going to cover it, have it something that can breathe, and don't cover it completely.
And it does seem to sometimes promote critters to get underneath there and create a nice little habitat.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we've all seen, ignition wires chewed off or some poor furry creature caught in a flywheel and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
That's never any fun.
Chris pulled a spider off the machine this morning, so.
Yes, they do come with spiders.
They're looking for a place to hide this time of year.
Yeah, for sure. Exactly. So, folks, you've been seeing every now and then a box floating around on the screen and some piece of paper going to it. That's people's names and contact information going into the draw. So please, for those of you who are watching that haven't submitted a question, please do so, or, say hi or tell us where you are or what machine that you like. And I promise the fellows from Toro here will not say anything mean or send you any, nasty letters or anything like that. But we'd like to get as many people in for this draw as we possibly can, because this is an awesome snowblower that's Toro's been kind enough to make available for us to give away, and it's like I said, it's steerable. It comes with headlight, and I think those are LED lights they're using now. And it's got hand warmers. I love hand warmers. Shows you what it was I'm becoming. But anyway, it's a great machine. It's ideal size as far as bucket width and the power plant that's on it. Like, you'll have no trouble throwing snow with that beast. So by all means, reach out to us. Subscribe, get your question in, and again, those of you who are on TikTok, send us through an email to video@fix.com so you can get in on the draw. And we are probably maybe 20 minutes away or so for that draw.
Yep, we're about halfway through our time slot here.
Perfect.
We'll keep the questions coming.
Okay.
We've got one asking, how well does the machine handle going up and down hills?
That's a good question. So I guess it depends typically whether it's paved driveway or gravel, and back to the conversation around the tire pressure, or whether you're using chains or not. But there must be a bit of a limit as to steep of grade that these machines are comfortable pulling up on and going back down.
I'm not sure what our actual direction is on that, but it's all based on your traction, and depending on your surface, there's going to be usually there's going to be a big difference between say an asphalt driveway that's been seal coated or a broomed finish on a concrete driveway. You're going to get a lot better traction on the broom finish. It's kind of there's plenty of power there. That's not the issue. It's just being able to get the traction. And we all know we drive in this in the winter too, and we all know how traction is everything in the winter. So,
I think the realistic thing about it is the machine is going to have more traction than the person that's handling it. I've had my blower pull me along very frequently on those icy surfaces. So, hill climbing really shouldn't be an option. There's a lot of different gear selections And as long as the traction system is adjusted properly and in good condition, they should be able to pull through just about any incline, within reason, of course. What's next on the list, Sarah?
Right, we've got quite a few questions coming in about oil. So what's the best oil for a snowblower, like synthetic? Is that good? How often does the oil need to be changed?
Wow, that is a good question, and it is one of the most common ones. What do the Toro engines come with out of the factory? Are they using synthetic or SAE or?
We're
Yeah,
using.
go
Go
ahead,
ahead, Chuck.
Jeff. Oh. The big thing, I mean, the snowblowers don't get run continuously. It's usually a shorter period of time. They don't get a lot of hours. So changing the oil, every season is a very good practice. My opinion, a conventional SAE oil is fine. You don't see typically the heat and the amount of hours that really a synthetic oil is going to be, where that's going to benefit. So I would say just if you change the oil yearly on typically these motors, that would be more than sufficient, I guess. Jeff, unless you have a different idea on that.
No, the only thing I'd add is ease of starting. Maybe if you're using a synthetic, if you have a unit that's stored, outdoors, most garages don't get below 20 or 30 degrees even in the winter months. But if you're storing something outside, so if it's 15 below, you're trying to start it and pull it over in 15 below temperatures. A synthetic could make it easier to pull over and maybe easier starting. But yeah, SAE 530 is the recommended oil in there.
Okay, very good. What do you got, Sarah?
Okay, there is one. This is related to our area of DIY repairs. This person is asking about I assume the primer bulb. I don't know if that's a thing snowblowers have or not, but
Yep.
they are saying the primer on their Toro no longer works. Is that an easy fix?
From my experience, I would say the primer bulb is one of the easiest things to fix. And looking at the version that Toro has on their machines, it's easy to get at and pretty easy to change out when you have to.
Yep, and that is a serviceable part. So
that's our primer here. And you'll know if it doesn't work. It becomes hard to start. You don't hear that little puff or movement of the gas when you push that primer bulb, or you find a large amount of fuel starting to land on your foot. Then there's something might be a bit of a problem there. But they're pretty resilient, but they will dry out and crack over time. That's for sure. It's a normal wear part.
yeah, and when you look at snowblowers, and to Chuck's point, how many times they get used in a season. Snowblowers, it's not rare to see a 20-year-old snowblower, and sometimes it's just time that gets to them more than use. They don't get a lot of hours on them each year, but like you say, like rubber parts and stuff start to degrade over time. So.
This is a good segue. There's quite a few questions that came in the last little bit about the type of annual maintenance that is needed. I know at the beginning of the stream, we were talking about what to do before you store it. Maybe we'll talk, startup and this sort of annual maintenance that a machine needs at the start of the season.
That's a great question. So guys, from your perspective, that kind of maintenance at the beginning of the season, or can you do a general maintenance check and lubricate everything before you put it away so it's good to go for the next season? Do you have a personal preference or a company preference?
I have a personal preference, but what I do and what I prefer are two different things. At the end of the winter, I'm done with winter, and I just like to roll it in the back of the shed. But that's it would probably be best to take care of it before you put it away. just to make sure that everything is ready to go. Otherwise, you get caught. You get a late November snowfall, and you're dragging it out of the back of the shed, and you didn't do anything to prepare for it, and now you're doing not only maintenance, but you're doing triage and trying to figure out what's wrong that you created by not taking care of it in the spring. So that's the way you should do it. Like I said, I don't always do it that way myself, but it would be best. Especially if you're going to have to pay somebody to do it, you'd be better off taking care of it yourself in the spring.
Right, and just remember that, bringing your snowblower in at the time when it doesn't work and everybody else's is not working, you aren't going to probably get it back anytime soon. It's hopefully you have a good shovel available, because the shops, there's less and less shops, and they get really busy, and especially this time of year, it's kind of like lawn mowing season when spring comes around. So planning to get your unit, if there's, this time of year right now, check and make sure it runs, make sure everything seems to be okay, then you'll be ready for that first snow.
Yeah, that's a really good point, because on this machine, I've got the belt cover off, and, now's the time to find out if your belts are stretched or, got chunks missing or just plain worn out. And again, drive belts, but especially auger belts, are a normal wearing part. So it's best to deal with that now, as compared to, as you guys mentioned, first big snowstorm and you want to go do something and, it barely throws the snow. So it's better to get ahead of it. And yeah, it's funny, everybody wants to get their lawn mowers out in the spring. And if it doesn't quite run right or whatever, it's okay, because that lawn, if I don't get to it this weekend, I'll do it next weekend. But you got 2 or 3 feet of snow in your driveway.
Right.
You need that machine to work. So the important thing is do the maintenance, whether you're doing it, before you put it away. In that way, doing it before you put it away gives you the advantage of going over the machine, see if there is anything that's worn or broken that needs to be adjusted. You have a lot of time to do those repairs when it's warm and sunny and lots of light, as compared to standing out in the snow, shivering, trying to wonder where the feeling in your fingertips went. So,
Exactly.
yep. Anyway, I think we've all been there, so I guess that's how we know some of the pitfalls.
Yes.
Right. I know we talked earlier about single stage versus 2-stage, what those stages are. There's a question asking, is Toro making or have plans to any 3-stage snowblowers?
We're just the service guys. They don't tell us about the skunk works, what's going on in the background all the time. We don't always know until we're beginning to develop it more. But as far as I know, there isn't currently.
Exactly. I think that the blowers work extremely well. It's a proven design. Not to say that they're always in the background looking at how do we make something better, how do we make it that it's something that somebody else doesn't have. So they're constantly doing that. But boy, the units really work well.
Yeah, and you're right about the design. It's tried and true, no question. If you're running 3 versions of impeller on the same machine, you're going to need an engine that's going to keep up to that. So,
well, and the more moving parts, doesn't always make things better. There's more maintenance. There's more opportunities for failure. So.
Yeah, exactly. Sarah?
All right. We've got some questions whether these machines are electric start or pull start.
The machine I have here in front of me is both pull start and electric start. Guys in your lineup, is there any of them that do not have electric start?
Yeah, we have just standard recoil start units. And then on our electric start units, it's basically just the addition of the electric start, and they're 120 volt electric starters. So you plug them into an extension cord to start it, so it doesn't have its own battery. So you don't have to worry about maintaining a battery in the off season or keeping it charged during the season. So you plug your electric starter or your cord in there. One thing to be mindful of is it is in the operator's manual that we recommend at least a 16 gauge extension cord and 50 feet or under. So if you're trying to use the same cord that you use for your Christmas tree, it might get warm. It will probably still start, but it might get warm if you have to turn it over for a while.
Yeah, exactly. It's something that kind of goes along with electric start and with maintenance. If your snowblower is well maintained and you're using good fuel and a good fuel system, these machines start practically first pull. Whether it's cold, just depending on your choke setting. If you have to use your electric start because you can't pull it, more than 2 or 3 times, there's an issue that you're probably going to need to deal with in regards to, some maintenance in your fuel system. But, if you're not a super strong or your electric starts are pretty handy.
And that is one big benefit of the 60 volt product too. There is no pulling on anything. If you have, an older person or somebody that has, shoulder issues or something, then where pulling something over is going to be an issue. The 60 volt product, it's pretty nice. You turn the key on, you pull the bail, and off you go.
Yeah, actually, that's a pretty good selling point. I hadn't thought of it from that perspective. Again, going back to talk about having a machine that starts well with pull start, it's great if all you're using is your electric start, but you want to be sure it'll start okay with the pull start, because if you have a really long driveway and an extension cord that doesn't get to the end, electric start's not going to save you. So.
Yeah, when you hit that phone book at the end of the driveway and it shuts off, how are you going to restart it?
Exactly. Yeah, you might have to choke her a few times. What do you got next there, Sarah?
All right, assuming one is properly maintaining their machine, what sort of life expectancy can you expect from a snowblower?
Good question.
Boy, that's, you kind of look around at, marketplace and things like that. There's snowblowers out there that are 20, 30 years old. Like I said, they typically, the typical homeowner, if you use your snowblower, 10 times a year, depending on the market you're in, they just don't get a lot of hours put on them. So the key is, if they're maintained, they can last you, one snowblower can last you pretty much as long as you're going to be blowing snow.
Yeah, that's a fact. That's a fact. And it's all about that maintenance feature. And we've talked about maintenance on the blowers a fair bit. And compared to other outdoor products, the snowblower doesn't have a ton of things that, as a operator, you need to look after, as compared to, say a tractor with a separate mower deck or whatever. I mean, really the key points, between belts, and good fuel, and, new spark plug, and keeping things lubricated and making sure that the machine won't rust. There's no reason these machines won't last, like you say, a long time.
On a related note, we had an emailed question asking what part is typically going to fail first. I know we talked about the shear pins and having some of those on hand, but anything else we recommend?
I guess I would say the shoes and the scraper blade. I mean, they're contact points. Depending on the type of surface that you're running them on, the shoes, you're going to want to inspect those, regularly. And the scraper, but in belts.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
Anything else you can think of, Jeff?
No, it's maintenance stuff, and it's wear items, not the failed parts, but yeah, keeping up on, and most of that stuff, unless I mentioned about the surface of the driveway. I had a new driveway put in, and for the first 2 years, I wore out 2 shovels because of the broomed finish, until it wore down enough that I wasn't wearing it down anymore. We do make some heavy duty skids for these also that were made out of cast iron instead of steel. So if you had a surface and you found you were wearing the skids out really fast, you could upgrade. And also there's, I believe on this one, there's the ability to flip it over and use the other side once you wear out one side.
And they
So,
do have a nylon skid for the people who don't want it potentially scratching their driveway. If they have a stamped driveway or
right.
a cobblestone or something like that type of driveway, they have a mar-free type of skid.
Yeah, that's a nice feature because there's more and more of those um, unique style driveways coming out.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, you don't want to be the guy that when you test run it for him and you scratch his driveway,
Right.
that goes over as well as, spilling gas all over the driveway or oil. I don't know how I know that. Sarah?
We had a few questions on ease of use. So if you're a smaller statured person, there was a question if their preteen is allowed to use the snow blower. I don't know if that's a state by state thing on how old you have to be to run equipment, but are these generally pretty easy for someone to use and operate?
I would say from my perspective, they're very easy to operate. Um, Especially where you have a machine that maybe has the steerable feature. It makes them, pretty easy to get them around in a tight space. Machines that don't have that, you have to sometimes do a little manhandling to get them around in those tight corners or individual situations depending on the style of the driveway and stuff. But, today's machines are designed pretty much for almost anybody to be able to use. Chuck, your battery-powered ones, they would be a lighter machine than the gas one, once we're away from that gas engine?
Yep, typically they are a little bit lighter, a little bit more maneuverable. And I think the biggest thing is the person familiar with the machine.
Yeah.
You know, if it is a steerable machine, a little story, I was out of town. My wife had to use our large snow blower to clear a large snow, and I didn't tell her anything about the steering mechanisms, the little triggers underneath. And she said, "Boy, this thing's really kind of, a beast at the end of the driveway to get turned around and stuff." Like, wow, it's got power steering on it. I don't know why. What are you talking about? So, I mean, it's being familiar with the machine as well, and the what they have. So.
Yeah, and that's a good point. And as far as what age, um, everybody's different as far as their comfort level and intelligence level as far as running a piece of equipment. These machines and most powered snow blowers, have reverse gears as well. And, you have to be aware that when you put it in reverse and it's got a pretty hefty engine on it, now they're set up not to go super fast in reverse, but if you're not familiar and not aware of what's going to happen, you can get yourself in some awkward spots.
Yeah, and it is still it's a piece of equipment. And it has a lot of safety features on it, but it is a piece of equipment, and yeah, you have to figure out where they're at and their abilities.
Exactly. So we're getting close, Sarah.
Yeah,
Do you
I
have
know
anything else to-
if anyone's joined from the beginning, this will be some repeat information, but some new, since we get lots of questions on the topic, I thought we'd circle back and talk about fuel one more time. So folks are asking what octane, if there's an acceptable ethanol level, and again, questions on fuel stabilizers and if it's needed. So maybe we'll wrap up just talking about fuel, and then we'll give us some time to put the last names in the draw, and then we'll pick a winner.
Sounds good.
So I do have the manual pulled up for one of our Toro units, and just reading right out of the manual, it says, for best results, use only clean, fresh, less than 30-day old fuel, unleaded gasoline with an octane rating of 87 or higher. Said oxygenated fuel with up to 10% ethanol or 15% MTBE by volume is acceptable. Do not use ethanol blended fuels greater than 10%. Do not use gasoline containing methanol.
So, to be safe and have a reliable working machine, follow the instructions from the manufacturer.
Yep.
Yeah, more than fair. And fuel stabilizer is a recommendation in order to, store your machine, between seasons. That's not a problem from your guys' perspective. It's recommended.
We have a Toro fuel treatment, but it use any product that you trust, that you've had experience with, or that your dealer sells and believes in. A good quality fuel treatment. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So Brian, what do you think? Are we getting close to doing the draw? All righty.
Any more questions coming in?
Nope, we're good to go.
I just have one question came through email that asked. We have one question via email. I like being able to repair original equipment, but there are times when I wonder, should I just bite the bullet and buy new? What would be your top criteria to consider when trying to decide cost, age, make, and model? Are there any absolutes you have in making the decision for repair or replacing?
That's a big question. That's a big question. And, talking about this type of equipment, it's the thought process and strategy as to which way to go is the same as whether you're talking about a washer or a snowblower. It comes down to your own personal finances, your ability to do the repairs yourself, or have somebody reputable to take it to for repairs. And really, you have to take a look at the machine, look at the amount of wear and tear on it, what it's going to cost to get it back up and running, and so that's going to be reliable and in the future, so you're not wasting your money, and look at that dollar amount and then compare it to new. There is the thing you have to keep in mind with having new is you start with warranty all over again. So yeah, in my mind, it's an individual's decision based on finances and ability.
And features, if you're a person who likes to have the newest, latest, greatest, you want the hand warmers, you want the headlight, or maybe you want to transition to the 60-volt line and not have to deal with maintenance as much in gas and things like that. That's another thing to think about.
Yeah, for sure. And along that line, as this customer was asking about, as far as cost of repairs, not sure what the individual's ability is in fixing things, but you'll find, you can save a lot of money by fixing it yourself. And that's talking about most of the general components on these machines. There's lots of information out there on how to do those repairs, what the common parts are. And as long as the parts are accessible, and you don't, in my mind, don't waste your money looking at aftermarket parts. You may think you're saving a little bit on the front end, but trust me, if you really like doing the same job over and over again in a short period of time, that's the way to go. So, go with OEM, and trust me, you'll be amazed what you'll learn as you start to do your own repairs and your own maintenance on your machine. You'll get to know it very well, and you'll increase some of your own skills, but you'll also know exactly what you can do to keep your machine running when you need to. All right, is it time?
It is time. Thank you again to everyone who submitted questions to keep the conversation going for the last hour.
Was that my name you just put in there at the end?
No, I tossed it.
Oh, yeah. Okay, guys, let's see who we're going to give away a beautiful Toro snowblower to. All right. Brian, you can open that one up. And
Jeff
Jim-
Brinke.
Jim Kieran.
From our email list.
Yeah. Whose question came in from email. So he is now about to become the proud owner of a beautiful Toro snowblower. And when you do get your snowblower, if you're still watching us and you're aware that you just won this machine, We'd love to get some feedback from you when it arrives and, you know, your impression of it. And, you know, if you can take some pictures and send us or a little video or whatever, we'd love to get that kind of feedback because it is a fantastic machine and actually we're all quite envious. But congratulations, you're going to be thrilled when you get it. And I just want to take a minute to thank Jeff and Chuck for their time today to make themselves available in their busy schedule in order to come on here and join us for the live to, you know, answer your questions and our questions and give us a little bit of insight as to how to properly look after a machine and what you can do in order to have it last a long time. So guys, thanks very much. Really appreciate it. Really appreciate what Toro is doing in partnership with us. Terrific product, and this has been a real pleasure for us. So thank you very much.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks, Chris.
You bet. All right, you guys have a good weekend. Everybody out there that's joined us today as well, have a great weekend, and thank you for joining. And please don't forget to subscribe so that you can be aware of whenever we're doing these lives or any of the information that we're making available from our sites as far as maintaining, parts availability, how to service, or ask, you know, questions on use or preference, and we'll do our best to try and get back to you and pass along whatever information we have for you. All right then, thanks very much. We'll see you next time. See you guys, thanks again.
Thanks.